a privilege to be an artist. Being able to do this work in ways that I've always dreamed of, it's also a place of arrival. If this is my life, I feel like I've arrived. My childhood was very simple. I grew up in the countryside of São Paulo, Brazil. We didn't have much to play with around. It was very DIY, I would say. We played outside with stones and nature and made up our own stories and narratives to create some form of entertainment. I come from a family of craftswomen. All my aunts could sew and stitch and weave. We've always had that hands-on into the craft of making outfits and the craft of making items around the house. So that was, I would say, a major influence in my practice later on, because I'm always stitching pieces together, including photographs and textiles. Yeah, this is under a bridge in Pasadena, Los Angeles. You can walk under a bridge. In the stitching process, I'm uniting two things that sometimes don't quite belong together, but they fit together. Not that something is broken and needs to be pieced together, but to put these two worlds into one, it can't feel like it's a healing process. Yeah, this one is just a silhouette of my grandmother. In the background is a black and white photo of me, a blurred photo of me. And this is her window, what she's looking at when she's washing dishes. I have another one. Oh, right here. So when I cut the photos, I often keep the negative. So this is the actual image of my grandmother. And in the back, where the window was, it's me at the ocean, also a blurred image of myself, but my grandmother has never been to the ocean before. So this is me giving her a view of the oceans from her kitchen. Yeah, I like this one a lot. And my parents worked a lot when I was a kid, so we were left at the care of my grandparents every day. So my grandfather was just like a child because he was constantly coming up with games and ideas and let's do this now, and here, take this and make something out of this. And everything for him was an act of creation. I do consider him my first mentor and my first big influence. One of the things I can remember that he would keep saying is, you have to seek a path that belongs to you. If that means you can't stay here, you can't stay here. So after his death, my grandmother was left with some money, and she told me, if you want to get out, I can help you get out. So his death in some ways led me to come here. And that was the seed for me to then plan this exodus of my life. So I left just about a year later after his death. Boston was my first city. It wasn't pretty at first. I didn't speak English. The moment I got here, I started buying books so I could maybe teach myself how to read and write. I started going to libraries, and that became a part of my practice. So I start a body of work generally after I read a book or a poem, or if I've written a poem based on a story that I've read or an experience I've lived. I don't like to consider myself a writer necessarily because I'm not a published writer, but it is a big part of what I do. I embroider text, words into my work. My last project was stitching a long poem on a piece of cloth during 365 days. So every day I would hike up a mountain, and then at the end of it, I would add a line that came subconsciously. Writing in stream of consciousness is something I practice a lot. It's something I practice in my performances. And this cloth is the largest piece of writing I've ever done. And the cloth became a 92 feet long poem, which is about the size of a basketball court of text. My current body of work is based on a new translation of the Odyssey. It was done in 2018 by Emily Wilson. I remember having an impact in my own idea of migration and what it meant to leave your home or leave your idea of a home and not be able to come back. That part of the poem I felt a strong connection to. In the Odyssey, like in some ways, the story takes you on a huge journey to go back to where you belong. But in the end, Homer feels that the journey itself was a way to belong to the world. And that's what I'm speaking to, I think, to bringing this idea that our journeys are our home, not the destination necessarily. So the sculpture I made, so this is bamboo I found on my walks. This is a palm tree leaf. I created her with fabric, just found fabric, and the embroidery, it's a poem that I wrote for Ithaca. And it's speaking of reclaiming Ithaca, or the island, as a matriarchal space. I speak of what it meant to be a woman at this time, what it meant to be a woman seeking a home. And she's carrying on this text in this poem that means she's going through a journey of her own. I wanted to embroider this on her too because I wanted her to carry the endurance of how long it took to get to a place. And so she's built that way. Yeah. Yeah, I'm having my first solo in Los Angeles, and I'm returning to the Odyssey with the show because we felt like just a return to the origins of what planted that seed of wanting to get out in the first place. This show to me feel like this is another route that I'm taking, another island that I'm landing my boat in and trying to figure it out how it's gonna go, who I'm gonna meet in this island. This is an opportunity to have a larger body of work showed in the same spot, and I'm very excited. I'm very grateful that this is happening at this time in my life.
When going back to Ithaca, one must be advised to dissuade from mankind. What if Homer was a woman? What if the hero of the tale was the muse? What if leaving Ithaca had always been her destination? What if all survivors had come with her? What if the goddess of the flashing eyes was her own unhappy days? What if all goddesses also lived there? And what if earth and sky were not kept apart, and their visitors were invited to feast? What if everything and nothing was entirely theirs? And what if to reach safety with their ships, they would all start the voyage they were set out to create? What if monsters came to their rescue when the waters were sent to vanish all the ones that couldn't see that the voyage would be long, and then there were to be many who would come to grief? What if what they found out and probed into their senses would not warn you should this tale no longer be, without any promises or any sorrows that may have caused them to flee?